Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Back in 1916, Willard began his heavyweight championship reign under the onus of Jack Johnson's false claim that Jess had won a rigged fight. Willard's first title defense in 1916 was a successful but uninteresting 10-round decision over the boxing veteran Frank Moran. Soon, however, boxing would go into a state of suspended animation. The reason? A spectacle bigger than any sporting event could provide was in the middle of its 4-year run in Europe. The First World War was approaching a climax, and 1917 drew American doughboys into European trenches. In the pitch-in spirit of the time, former heavyweight champion Gentleman Jim Corbett, now a well-preserved 50 years old, put on khakis and boots to make an Army training film on the manly art of self-defense. His balding opponent is Kid McCoy, who'd been the first light heavyweight champion when that division originated back in 1901. The two former greats give their own priceless advice as to how to beat the German armies. In slow motion, let's see Corbett's tricky pirouette again. Luckily, by the end of 1918, this advice became unnecessary. The war had ended. The leaders of the four victorious powers met to decide peace treaty terms. Orlando of Italy, Clemenceau of France, Lloyd George of Great Britain, and Woodrow Wilson of the United States. Meanwhile, an ecstatic America returned to its traditional enjoyment of sports and fun with renewed zest and optimism. Master promoter Tex Rickard decided it was time to find an exciting new challenger for Jess Willard's heavyweight crown. His choice? This smiling young knockout puncher, Jack Dempsey. All sorts of stunts were arranged to get young Dempsey into the public eye. One most notable was this high-priced totem pole of talent. On the bottom, Charlie Chaplin, the most brilliantly inventive comedian of his time. Next is Douglas Fairbanks Sr., virile leading man who will grace swashbuckling silent films for years. On top, young Jack Dempsey, who will go on to create his own legend as the Manasseh Mauler. In a classic non sequitur film sequence, the three men team up for a slapstick vignette. Chaplin seems involved in the music. Fairbanks comes flying into the picture. Now Dempsey joins the melee. Dempsey's explosive in-the-ring style made him his own best press agent. In the 7 bouts Jack fought before he took on Willard, he had 7 knockouts, all in 2 rounds or less. With Dempsey as colorful challenger, promoter Rickard proceeded with arrangements for the fight. Tex had an immense wooden stadium built in Toledo, Ohio, to house the huge crowds he expected. The cost? $100,000 worth of green lumber. As it turned out in the hot sun, the sap from the unseasoned wood ruined many a spectator's double-breasted suit. 8 a.m., the 4th of July, 1919. The first fans arrived for the fight to be held that afternoon. Ticket prices were high, particularly since the average American makes just $10 a week. That means many of these fans put in 6 weeks of work for their ringside seats. Inside the stadium, 2,000 women, including actress Ethel Barrymore, are seated in a special section fenced off by barbed wire. This forever ended the custom of all male fight crowds. When Dempsey comes in the ring, the temperature is a torrid 112 degrees. Willard arrives, gracefully acknowledges the crowd's enthusiastic welcome. the symbolic heavyweight championship belt is displayed. The fighters meet in the center of the ring to pose for the cameras. Jess Willard does not seem to be in the rock-hard shape he was against Jack Johnson 4 years earlier. But what a difference in size between champion and challenger. Moments before the opening bell, Dempsey rubs rosin on his feet. First round. The bell rings, but no one hears it because of the clamor of the crowd. Jess Willard stands confused, looking around. There's a second bell. The most exciting first round in heavyweight history is underway. The fight starts calmly, but keep an eye on Dempsey. Although outweighed by almost 80 pounds, he has bet $10,000 at 10-to-1 odds that he will knock the champion out in the first round. Four dynamite punches, and Willard is down for the first time in his 8-year career. The crowd surges to its feet. When the champion rises, Dempsey leaps after him, drives Jess toward the ropes. Willard goes down for the second of what will prove to be 7 knockdowns. Dempsey pounces to the attack again, rains punches on the floundering champion. There was no neutral corner rule in 1919, and Dempsey is allowed to stand over the fallen fighter, ready to swing as soon as both knees leave the canvas. A crashing blow to the ribs sends Jess down again. Willard desperately tries to fend off the raging challenger. Dempsey lands more brutal punches. The champion staggers across the ring. He's down again. The referee pushes Dempsey away. Willard pulls his battered body erect, only to be floored for the 7th time. Referee Ali Picord is counting over the incredibly game champion. The bell rings, saving Willard from a first-round knockout, but no one hears it because of the fantastic uproar. Dempsey leaves the ring thinking he has won the championship and his 10-to-1 side bet, a $100,000 payoff. Meanwhile, Willard's handlers attend to him, desperately trying to ready Jess for the second round. With jaw broken and 2 ribs cracked, the battered champion is led to his corner. Dempsey's manager, Jack "Doc" Kearns, runs over and starts screaming after the young fighter. "Jack, come back! Jack, come back!" Dempsey returns and the fight continues. The mammoth Willard not only lasts through round 2, but he's still on his feet here in round 3. Dempsey is relentless on the attack, but in the blazing Toledo sun, Jess Willard is proving what is meant by the saying, "He went out like a champion." After the 3rd round, Willard's handlers insist that he not answer the 4th round bell. Jack Dempsey forges an instant legend as the Manassa Mauler. He has won the heavyweight championship in one of the most savage battles in ring history. Dempsey then goes off for a vacation in the country. In what will become the standard newsreel footage of boxing champions, here's Dempsey in his version of the pastoral scene. (1920). America is entering the roaring 20s. Prohibition puts no damper on the age of fun and flappers. Business was booming. All kinds of business, including bootlegging and racketeering, as was being murderously demonstrated by Chicago millionaire gang lord Scarface Al Capone. Dempsey moved easily into the giddy frenzy of this swinging decade. He legitimately could be called the prototype of the sporting idol. His explosively aggressive ring style put his fights among the most exciting battles in boxing history. His poor boy past fit perfectly into the Horatio Alger storybook mold. And he had the most colorful boxing manager of all time, Jack Doc Kearns, seen here at Dempsey's right. The third member of this potent box office team was, of course, promoter Tex Rickard. In 1921, after two successful but unexciting defenses, Tex decided to put Dempsey against a genuinely popular challenger, the light heavyweight champion of the world, Frenchman Georges Carpentier. And one of the most successful promotions in the history of boxing gets underway. Tex Rickard immediately sets about building another of his green lumber arenas in Jersey City, New Jersey. First World War hero Carpentier arrives in the United States by boat. The newspapers play up the Frenchman's matinee idol's looks, as well as his potent right-hand punch. Here, in a publicity gimmick, George does some fancy footwork. Then the Orchid Man gallantly offers an open shot at his chin and counts himself out. Dempsey, on the other hand, was portrayed as the villain of the piece. The champion's lack of a war record became the springboard for all kinds of adverse publicity. Here, Jack spars with Midget Smith, future bantamweight champion of the world. David and Goliath obviously had nothing on this mismatch. July 2nd, 1921. Police reinforcements arrive at the stadium at Boyle's 30 acres. Inside, Carpentier enters the ring to receive an hysterical ovation from the keyed-up crowd. The heavyweight champion of the world arrives with his entourage. A ferocious-looking Jack Dempsey with 2 days' growth of beard. Meanwhile, incredulous tellers were totaling the gate receipts. The total was $1,800,000, the first $1 million gate in boxing history. The two men shake hands for the cameras. Round one. The fight starts 2 hours earlier than scheduled. The wooden stands were filled to overflowing by noon, and Tex Rickard became worried that they would collapse before he got the fight underway. The Dempsey-Carpentier fight was the social event of 1921. The list of people who attended reads like a society and entertainment world who's who. Rockefeller, Ford, Vanderbilt, Whitney, Gould, Harriman, Baruch, Astor. Flo Ziegfeld of Follies fame was there. So was John Ringling of the Circus, Colonel Jacob Rupert of the Yankees, George M. Cohan, Al Jolson. It was the in place to be on July 2nd, 1921. Dempsey, as usual, is pressing the fight, using his greater weight and power. Round two, Carpentier gets home with his best weapon, his potent right hand. Dempsey is hurt. The crowd goes wild as George tries to press his advantage. American fight fans across the country were listening to the fight on the first live coast-to-coast radio hookup. They heard how the granite-jawed champion survived. Fourth round, Dempsey has taken charge. George misses with a desperate flurry. Dempsey is after him. A sharp left-right and Carpentier is down. The Frenchman looks like he's out cold, but jumps up at 9. 2 more punches and George is down again. This time he does not rise. The Manasseh Mauler has knocked out his 11th opponent in a row. Dempsey emerged as one of the two greatest celebrities of the times. The other was this Fancy Dan, sometime amateur boxer. To legions of American women, he was known as the demon lover of their dreams, Rudolph Valentino. He evidently had a grade A wooing style, judging from this young lady's reaction. Dempsey may have caused a few heartthrobs himself, with publicity pictures like this dramatically posed shot. This is Shelby, Montana, where Dempsey fought his 4th title defense. The businessmen of Shelby had decided to put their little town on the map by staging a heavyweight championship prize fight. But they didn't have a Tex Ricker to run their promotion, and at fight time, only 8,000 people were in the spanking new stadium. Because of the $200,000 guarantee given to Dempsey before the fight could go on, the little town of Shelby went completely bankrupt. Many of the potential crowd seemed to be on this hillside a half a mile away from the stadium. Inside before the fight, challenger Tom Gibbons enters the ring in a colorful bathrobe. Dempsey is his usual businesslike self. Gibbons' plan is to box and stay out of range of the harder punching champion, banking on outpointing Dempsey to win the decision. As the crowd, including many rowdy pistol-packing cowboys, jeered, the fighters pose in the middle of the ring. First round. Gibbons in the dark trunks starts out with his defensive fight plan. He has never been knocked out or even floored during his 12-year career. He backs away, ties up the champion. '15th round. Tommy Gibbons has planned his strategy too cautiously. Dempsey is far ahead on points because of his aggressiveness. The fight is over. Jack retains his title by a clear-cut decision. The champion, still wearing his boxing trunks, boards a train out of Shelby a mere 20 minutes after the fight ends. Gibbons, who is to be paid a percentage of the gate, never receives a penny for his losing 15-round effort. Dempsey, who was out of shape for the Gibbons fight, goes to his country training camp to get ready for upcoming matches. A proud news cameraman gets this exclusive footage of Jack and his entourage setting off on a morning workout. Jack dissuades an enthusiastic but older friend from running with him. Pops doesn't seem to be too happy about it. This kind of moving shot is most unusual for the time, and it represents an attempt at bringing newsreel footage up to the level of sophistication comparable with the burgeoning Hollywood film industry. 1923, Luis Angel Firpo, the wild bull of the Pampas, arrives in the United States ready to destroy Dempsey. 6 feet 3 inches tall, 220 pounds of explosive Argentinian. Undefeated, winner of 22 fights in a row, all but 4 by knockout. On the night of the fight, September 14th, 1923, 80,000 fans crowded into the Polo Grounds in New York City. It was Tex Rickard's second $1 million gate. Famous ring announcer Joe Humphreys introduces the fighters. In just seconds, Firpo and champion Jack Dempsey will collide in the most spectacular fireworks display ever to take place inside a boxing ring. Round 1 begins. With 2 savage brawlers in there, everyone expects lightning to strike. And they are not to be disappointed. Dempsey gets in first, giving the Argentinian his own special version of an American welcome. Jack Dempsey tastes blood, and as usual, he wants to end it here and now. Firpo is down again, but still the champion does not dream that in the next 2 minutes, he will be locked in one of the most unbelievable seesaw contests in sporting annals. Dempsey seems to be having it all his way as Firpo is down again. But Jack is about to taste the power and strength that allows the Argentinian to continue to absorb such a barrage. A blunderbuss right catches the unsuspecting champion coming in and floors him for a 1 count. An enraged Dempsey storms right back. Firpo drops. That is the 7th of what will prove to be a record 9 first-round knockdowns. There's number 8. Dempsey charges in for the kill, but the giant challenger fends him off with a desperate flurry of wide-arm punches. Dempsey retreats before the sudden onslaught. A right hand from the bleachers, and Dempsey is out of the ring. The first time in the history of pugilism that a heavyweight champion suffers such indignity. But Dempsey is boosted back into the ring by ringside reporters. And the struggle goes on. Dempsey's fabled jaw again stands him in good stead as he hangs on through the fog. There's the bell. Somehow both fighters have survived this most savage first round. Round 2. Dempsey comes out fresh, and the fans brace themselves, wondering what possibly can be coming next. Dempsey is getting off. Firpo is down for the 10th knockdown of the fight. He's up. Firpo will try to fend off Dempsey with another overhand right, but the champion now seems definitely in charge. 2 pulverizing left hooks, and Louis Angel Firpo is down for the 11th knockdown. Eight, 9, 10, and out. Undoubtedly one of the most explosive bouts in ring history. Jack Dempsey, now a world-renowned celebrity, makes the logical shift to Hollywood, home of movie stars. To ready himself to compete with his glamorous neighbors, Jack gets his nose trimmed. Before, after. Give us a profile, Jack. Thanks. Soon afterward, Jack began to accept various movie and stage roles. Jack applied plenty of enthusiasm, but he seems to lack a little of Valentino's class as a romantic lead. While Dempsey was capitalizing on his heavyweight title, another boxer with championship aspirations was cutting his way through the best fighters of the time. Ex-Marine Gene Tunney. Gene manages to keep a straight face as he goes through some serious muscle making. By 1924, the Fighting Leatherneck has swept through the light heavyweight division, beating such all-time greats as Battling Levinsky and Harry Greb. To make his dramatic appearance on the heavyweight scene, Gene signed to fight Georges Carpentier in 1924. The 10th round. Watch Gene Tunney on the right give a demonstration of his accurate punching. Carpentier is getting a more severe pummeling than Jack Dempsey gave him 3 years earlier. But the Frenchman refuses to go down under the barrage. Georges not only survives the 10th round, but he is still on his feet in the 14th. Georges backs Tunney toward the near ropes. Gene lashes out with a paralyzing body blow. The Frenchman sinks to the canvas as the bell rings. Round 15, but Carpentier cannot continue. The fight goes into the record book as a 15th round knockout victory for Tunney. While Tunney takes a giant step into the heavyweight picture, Dempsey is taking another kind of step, that of matrimony. Here is Jack with his new bride, Hollywood movie star Estelle Taylor. About to leave for their European honeymoon in 1925, Jack and Estelle literally give news photographers a big scoop. So Dempsey's only fight in 1925 was this backyard contest. Jack gives his best, but a smashing punch from Tommy the toddler's dynamite right hand puts the champ down for the count. The winner. Meanwhile, Gene Tunney resolutely moves ahead to earn his chance at the title. In this newsreel shot, Gene, in the middle, is doing road work, part of his intensive training for his upcoming fight with brilliant boxer Tommy Gibbons, only man in 6 years to last the limit with champion Jack Dempsey. The 12th round. Tunney on the left, boxing magnificently, is far ahead on points. Watch Gene's accurate jab flick out, disrupting what is left of Tommy Gibbons' fight plan. Gibbons is backing, trying to last. Tunney lands a perfectly timed right, and Gibbons is down. The referee screams out the count. Tommy is up, but Gene immediately floors him again. It's all over. Tommy Gibbons is knocked out for the first time in his brilliant 14-year career. By 1926, Jack Dempsey has not defended his title in 3 years. To quell the mounting public clamor, Jack signs with Tex Rickard to defend against a suitable opponent in the not-too-far-distant future. Early in 1926, promoter Tex Rickard, seated on Tunney's left, decides that Gene is the right challenger at the right time. With Tunney's signing, the stage is set for the epic Dempsey-Tunney battles. Gene seems so happy with the turn of events that he kids Tex about the part in the middle of the old gambler's slicked-down hair. On September 23, 1926, challenger Gene Tunney steps into the ring in Philadelphia's Sesquicentennial Stadium. Champion Dempsey arrives to be greeted by the roar of 125,000 excited fans, the largest paid crowd ever to attend a single sporting event. Rain starts to fall as the fighters are introduced, but there is no thought of postponing the fight. With his third million-dollar gate already in hand, Tex Rickard is going to stage this match come hell or high water. Round 1. Dempsey, as usual, starts pressing the fight. At first, the challenger seems cautious, but watch closely the man who has already proved himself to be the finest boxer of the era. An explosive combination. The immense crowd is surprised that Tunney has obviously planned to take the fight right to Dempsey. Through the first 9 rounds, as the rain continues to fall, Tunney continues to pile up points. By the 10th round, Dempsey's only chance to hold his title is to score a last-minute knockout. But this isn't the thunderous Dempsey that rallied to destroy Bill Brennan and Louis Firpo years earlier. This is a tiring champion, repeatedly being beaten to the punch. This 10-round fight. It's over. Both fighters stand waiting in the now driving rain. No fans have left, as everyone awaits the decision. When it comes, it's no surprise. Gene Tunney is the new heavyweight champion, congratulated by gracious Jack Dempsey. The new champion brought a new tone to boxing, much as Corbett did 35 years before. Tunney was considered an intellectual. Indeed, he did hobnob with some of the world's leading eggheads. That bearded fellow is the brilliant George Bernard Shaw. A proud New York City gives the boy who grew up in Manhattan's Greenwich Village a boisterous welcome. A ticker-tape parade in the best Jimmy Walker style. The steps of City Hall. That's dapper Jimmy on Tunney's right. Then it was off to the training farm for some horseplay, or rather, cow play. In May 1927, the reign of the new champion was eclipsed by the achievement of another clean-cut young American who had a date with a machine and an ocean. The machine, the Spirit of St. Louis. The ocean, the Atlantic. The man, Charles A. Lindbergh. Here he leaves from Newfoundland for the last big 3,000-mile hop. After this historic and momentous flight, thousands of screaming Parisians assemble in the middle of the night at Orly Field to greet the weary flyer. In 1927, new fighters also were clamoring for the public's attention. One of the most colorful newcomers was the Boston Gob, Jack Sharkey. A temperamental but explosive fighter, Sharkey shows his devastating punching power, flattening Jim Maloney in a much-talked-about fight. Jim tries to rise, falls again, and then tumbles flat on his face, out cold. Tex Rickard then comes up with another promotional natural, a match between the colorful Sharkey and ex-champ Dempsey, with the winner to challenge Tunney for his first defense of the heavyweight championship of the world. Tex Rickard sits between Dempsey and Sharkey as they sign for a July 21st, 1927 bout that will be Rickard's fourth $1 million promotion. Then the two men shake hands, and on July 21st, 1927, they do come out fighting. First round. Dempsey on the left gets belted by a beautiful left hook and a follow-up volley of punches. He's hurt, but his now famous granite jaw stands him in good stead as he holds on. The seventh round. Dempsey on the left is far behind on points. He starts going after Sharkey's body. Dempsey wails away at Sharkey's midsection. As the younger man turns to the referee, Dempsey whips in a left hook to Sharkey's exposed chin. He's writhing on the canvas, claiming Dempsey punched low. But Sharkey had committed boxing's most grievous sin, leaving himself unprotected. Dempsey wins by a seventh-round knockout. The loser will go on to have his day, however. 5 years later, Jack Sharkey himself win the heavyweight championship. But for now, Dempsey has earned another shot at Tunney. They signed to fight on September 22nd, 1927. That date, strangely enough, caused the sporting world's attention to shift from another momentous occurrence. Babe Ruth's spectacular drive to reach the record total of 60 home runs for a single baseball season. Early on the morning of September 22nd, we see an empty Soldiers Field, Chicago, Illinois. But just 12 hours later, over 100,000 fans, a live crowd greater than any attendance at any baseball game, watches as the first round of one of boxing's most controversial fights begins. Tunney is wearing the light-colored trunks. The fifth and final $1 million gate under the promotional reigns of Tex Rickard, this fight sets the record that may never be broken. $2,650,000 official gross receipts from a live gate. Champion Gene Tunney will receive a cool $1 million for 40 minutes work. The fight itself follows a pattern similar to the first match. That is, until the fateful seventh round. Dempsey lands up. By the eighth round, Tunney has fully recovered. Round 10. Tunney has taken complete charge. Bruised and exhausted, Jack Dempsey seems at the verge of being knocked out for the first time in 10 years.
There's the bell. The fight is over. Gene Tunney overwhelmingly the winner. But the long count gives sporting buffs something to discuss whenever they get together. Dempsey lost, yet he had won the greatest victory of his life. An adoring public took him to their hearts as he retired from the ring. Here's Jack Dempsey resuming his career in the theater, about to go through scenes with his actress wife, Estelle Taylor. As the years passed, Dempsey devoted his considerable skills and energies to many enterprises. One was this restaurant.
This will bring me as much success as these old boxing gloves.
While the cornerstone is being laid for his new eatery, a little comedy of errors develops over the traditional bottle of champagne.
Right there, watch it.
Say, Jack, why not give those gloves to a museum? They're very historic instead of in a cornerstone.
Well, I'll tell you, they brought me luck in the fight game, and I think they're going to bring me luck in this new restaurant.
I hope they do, Jack. Good luck
Thank you very much.
July 1928, and Tunney was involved in his second title defense. His opponent was New Zealand's Tom Heaney. The heavyweight champion is at the peak of his boxing skills as he finishes the challenger. Tunney wins by an 11th round knockout. After this fight, Tunney called the press to a special news conference. His was a startling announcement: to give up his title and retire from the ring. The only precedent for this action was Jim Jeffries retiring undefeated way back in 1905. But you remember, Jim returned to the ring to challenge Jack Johnson. Gene Tunney retired and stayed retired, ending a truly brilliant career that included only one loss in 76 fights. Soon after his retirement, Tunney married a beautiful society heiress and completed the Horatio Alger transition from humble Greenwich Village beginnings to millionaire gentleman. Tunney and his new wife pose for photographers as they board ship for a European honeymoon. Tunney's retirement coincided with the end of a fantastic era. Soon after, on January 6, 1929, mercurial promoter Tex Rickert went to his last reward and was given resplendent funeral ceremonies. It was said in certain quarters that it didn't matter whether the old gambler was going to heaven or hell, for he was sure to arrange a match with the other side soon after he arrived at either place. In the fall of 1929, the stock market crash made the easy money million-dollar gates of the affluent Roaring Twenties a thing of the past, at least until a new prosperity could be attained many years later. In 1957, the 30th anniversary of the historic Battle of the Long Count, Dempsey and Tunney, both still remarkably handsome and vigorous, meet in Soldiers Field in Chicago. Getting into a makeshift ring set in the same spot in which they had fought, they engage in a mock sparring session. To acknowledge the passing of years, they delight the crowd by demonstrating that any fight now would only be a waltz compared to their earlier clashes. Is it possible to capsule this epic 47-year period from John L. Sullivan to Gene Tunney? Yes, this was truly the era of legendary champions. But can these champions be rated in order of greatness? It would be difficult. It would mean comparing men who fought under vastly different circumstances. But let's hear the opinion of one man whose judgment in this respect must be highly regarded. The man, Tiny Tommy Burns, the former heavyweight champion who tells his own personal ratings.
Rating the heavyweight champions of the world since James J. Jeffries' time, I must say Jeffries was the best. Then comes Jack Johnson, the world's greatest defensive fighter, who won the title from me. Bob Fitzsimmons is next. Then Jack Dempsey, that millionaire fighter, or million-dollar fighter, rather. James J. Corbett, Gene Tunney, Philadelphia Jack O'Brien, who beat Bob Fitzsimmons after Jeffries had retired, and then Jess Willard. As to myself, you may rate me where you like.
So boxing had come to the end of an era. The era of legendary champions. An era that would never be surpassed. But the years and champions that were to come after Tunney's retirement were to hold their own special excitements and controversy.